Hi guys, we have an 8BA Flathead Ford V8 engine out of a 1950 custom coupe. A couple of videos ago we put a wrench on the crankshaft of this thing and gave it a try, and it is seized. I wanted to pull it out of the car so that it's easier to pull the heads off and intake off and take a look at it and see. Maybe we'll get lucky and it's not very seized, in which case we might be able to break it free, or we might be able to strip it down and have a rebuildable block. Follow along, let's get this thing torn down a little bit. We'll see what kind of condition it's in inside. Thanks for watching. First step for our little teardown session here is we've got to get some accessories taken off. Fuel pump, carburetor, oil tank, distributor cap and wires, and a whole bunch of lines, etc. I'm going to put those all in a tote, kind of keep them separate for this engine so they can go back on here if this is going to be a viable rebuild candidate. Let me get you guys set up on a stand and we'll do a little time lapse here and strip some stuff off. Well, that certainly isn't good news there. It looks like it's mouse house in around the fuel pump push rod. And you can see how rusty the push rod is, and it's definitely stuck. I'm going to take a wild guess that underneath that gasket is full of mouse house. What do you figure? What do you figure the chances are? The road draft tube comes up to here, and there's not really a whole lot preventing the mice from coming up there and making a nice little condo underneath this shield. Let me put you back on the stand. We'll pull this off and we'll see what happens. I can almost guarantee this isn't going to be as bad as that Canadian flathead that we pulled off. Speaking of which, this is not a Canadian flathead, although it came out of a car that was in Canada. According to this E that is cast right here, this engine was cast in Dearborn, Michigan. Does that mean that the car was built in the US as well? I don't know. Certainly, the engine was cast there. Well, it's definitely mouse house. Not as bad as I was expecting. We got some water, some rust. A little bit of rust in those intakes, but only one that's really scaly. Hey, maybe we're lucky and we only got one or two pistons that are going to be stuck. Let me get the vacuum and clean all this out of here, and then I'll rip this off. I'll bring you guys back in a few minutes and we'll see what we got to work with. I don't know about this one. The mouse house damage is pretty extensive up here in the top. Those 8 tubes that you're seeing, kind of laying at a 45-degree angle there, those are not tubes. Those are valve springs. And they are completely packed with rust and sludge and whatever else they are. I can't even break it free with a screwdriver. I'm guessing that if we do manage to get this block stripped down, if it's a viable candidate, we're probably going to be cutting those valves out with an angle grinder, and probably the camshaft underneath as well. Now I do have basically more than a full set of Flathead Ford valves that we can put in this thing. I managed to save most of the ones out of that C1BA block, which I think are kind of neat because they say made in Canada. Plus the original engine that isn't ever going to go back together. We got about half of those valves out. So I got no shortage of valves if we're going to build something here, but this isn't looking good. Well, let me get you set back up on the stand here and we'll buzz a head off and see how much damage there is in the cylinders. Okay guys, leave me a comment down below before we crack this open. What are we going to find? Is it going to be complete and total crap, or is it going to be something that we can work with? Let me know your thoughts. Well, that is certainly better than the last engine we tore apart. Ooh, you got a pretty good ring ridge. Definitely needs a rebuild. But as far as that end goes, the cylinders don't look too bad. Let me grab a little brake clean and a wire brush, and I'm going to see if I can see an oversize on the top of that piston someplace. Well, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up here. The LED light tends to wash it out for you guys. I am not seeing a stamped indicator on top of the piston saying that it's been rebuilt. But if you look really carefully, this marker showing the front of the cylinder is just kind of like a round divot, and this one's kind of like a teardrop shape. So the engine's been apart. I assume that they would all have the same indicator on them. I squirted a little bit of brake cleaner in just at the base of the cylinder and gave it a tap with a brass drift. And I think all four of these cylinders are kind of squirting when I do that, which indicates that they're either not seized or very, very lightly seized. Let me buzz the other side off. I'll bring you guys back for the reveal when I got all the bolts out of it, and we'll see what kind of shape it's in. All the bolts are out. Let's see what we've got to work with. Not all the bolts are out. This one. Now all the bolts are out. You know, don't know what you guys are seeing, but let's get a light and take a look. Okay, somebody's tried starting this with bad valves because we got two valves open. But you know, these cylinders don't look bad. Well, I think it's worth continuing to tear this thing down. Those valves are going to be a problem for sure. I think what we're going to do is we're going to strip the rest of this stuff off of this block. Water pumps, distributor, timing cover, exhaust manifolds, bell housing, all of that stuff. Get it down to the bare block. Then we'll get it up on the engine stand where the C1BA block is still sitting. And we'll get the oil pan off of it and see what that tells us. But as far as pistons go, I don't think we're stuck all that bad, if we're stuck at all. I'll tell you what, I'm going to clean this up. We're getting late here. It's getting time to shut it down. But I'm going to vacuum all this up and scrub at those pistons, scrape a little bit of the carbon out of there, and we'll tap them with the hammer. And I'll bring you guys back for an update before I shut down for the night. Maybe we're lucky and we've only got like one stuck piston. That'd be nice. Okay, let me give it a try. Back in a few minutes, or a few seconds for you. I've tapped on all these pistons. I can't tell whether they're seized or not. Something's got to be stuck though, because that crank's not turning at all. But even if they're stuck, I don't think they're stuck very bad. I've also gone and checked the web between all of the valves and the cylinders, and I'm not seeing a crack of death. We might have something here that we can work with. Yes, those valves are going to be brutal. Absolutely. Those valves, lifters, camshaft, all that stuff is going to be brutal. And it's entirely possible that the only reason it won't turn is because the valve train is all hung up. When we get it up on the stand and we get the front end out of it, we'll be able to tell where we're at. But so far, that's the only major gotcha I'm seeing. Well, it's time for me to shut down for the night. It's getting late here and I got to work in the morning. So we'll come back at this again and get some more teardown done. Until then, hey guys, we're back working on the Flathead Ford V8 that came out of the parts car. Probably been a couple of seconds for you, but it's been a couple of weeks for me. You'll have to forgive me if I repeat myself, anything I said in the first part of this video. But we do have the engine up on the engine stand. And I just touched the push rod for the fuel pump and it broke off. I thought they were solid, but it turns out they're hollow. That's not necessarily a deal breaker though, but yeah, in the couple of weeks that we've been letting this thing kind of just breathe, it hasn't gotten any better. I think what we need to do today is start tearing some more stuff down. I would like to get the distributor yanked out of this thing, get the crank pulley off, get this timing gear cover off, and maybe we can get the timing gear taken out of it. If we can do that, I almost think that that the crank might turn in this thing, because these pistons don't really look very stuck. I'm going to put a little bit of coil down and around the pistons just to let it pickle while we're working, because there is a little bit of surface rust in there, but really those cylinders don't look too bad. It's the valve train that's probably going to be the problem with this one. Is that going to be a deal breaker for this engine? I don't know. The little shields here are pretty badly corroded. I don't know how much metal has been eroded away from that main oil gallery, and I don't know whether that's something that can be replaced. Looks like it's just a metal tube pressed into the block. Maybe we can make a new one and push it in. Something to think about. Let me get you guys on a stand, and I'll start trying to rip some of this stuff off of here, and we'll see where we get to with this. Well, my hope that the crankshaft wasn't too badly stuck and that the problem was actually the cam was stickiness hasn't worked out. I've tried both the crank bolt here. You can't put a whole lot of pressure on that. I don't know whether you guys could see me doing it or not, but we have the flywheel to work on now, and I put some pressure on it, and it's not doing anything for us. That's not moving at all. Not surprising. You know, these engines tend to get stuck. I don't think this one is stuck quite as bad as the last one that we tore apart, but this one still is going to need some attention. Now that we've got a little bit of oil sprayed in around those pistons, let's give them a little tap with the soft face hammer, and we'll see if we get any squirting action. I don't see anything happening there. How about over here? Typically, if your pistons are loose and you do that, you'll see a little bit of, the piston will move a little bit and you'll see the oil squirting around. All those valves still feel pretty sticky too. Now, one of the nice things about having this thing on a stand is that we can tip it up so that it's vertical. And basically we're working on a, kind of like an inline 4 engine. I have heard that Coca-Cola works quite well for breaking engines free, and I happen to have some. Before we do that, though, we should put a bucket under it and pull the drain plug just to see if anything's going to come out of there. I don't remember. Did we check the oil? There is oil on there, but looking at that dipstick, I think we've got some pretty crusty stuff happening down on the base of that engine. Let me drain the oil out of it and get a few things staged up here, and we'll see if we can convince some pistons to at least move a little bit for us. Bring you back in a minute. We've got it rolled over so we're somewhat vertical. I haven't got it perfectly straight on the stand, so it's a little bit crooked. We've got our pipe here that's approximately the same size as the cylinder. We don't want to beat on it too hard because I don't want to break anything, and I don't really want to mark the pistons. But at least, give it a little bit of a shock. Well, we'll try a little bit of lubricant in there. This is just brake cleaner. Thin brake cleaner will wick down in easier than oil will. Well, guys, I think we're going to leave that soak for a little while. I need to go grab a bite of lunch, and I'll come back out here and we'll see if any of these pistons have completely drained down past the rings or not. Catch you in a bit. It's been 20 minutes, half hour thereabouts since we last looked at this, and it doesn't look like we've had anything run down past the rings. Okay, I think I'm going to do a little bit more tappy tap on here and see if anything appears to be happening. But I think what we'll do is roll this over on the other side, kind of do a bit of a rinse and repeat on the other cylinders. I'm not expecting really any difference, but the brake cleaner kind of cleans everything up a bit. Unless I find something interesting over there on that side, I won't bother bringing you guys back to see more of the same. But we'll roll this sucker over on its head and take off this oil pan next. And we'll see what kind of shape the inside of the engine is in. Something tells me we're going to find some more of that, which isn't necessarily going to be a good thing. Bring it back in a few minutes and we'll lift this oil pan off. I think I've got all the bolts out of this. Just a little bit of tar packed in around the bottom side of this engine. Let's pop it off and see. What do you figure, guys? Is this going to be a complete disaster inside? Looking at the outside of the oil pan, I'm going to guess the inside's not going to be very nice. Well, let's see what we got. Well, not surprising to see a whole bunch of rust in there with the amount of mouse nest that there was immediately above it. Does that mean that we're completely hooped? Not at all. It does probably mean that the connecting rods are rusted to the crankshaft. Underneath the piston skirts, definitely it is pretty crispy. The cam is ugly, but that's not surprising. Does it mean that this engine's junk? Not necessarily. My main concern is that the condition of that main oil gallery is more than anything. I'm just about out of time for today, but I would really like to take these two rod caps off, given that they're, kind of at bottom dead center or close to it. And then let's give those pistons a couple of taps and see if they move in the bore. Take these lock nuts off. Now the impact should do the job. Don't want to tap on the ends of those bolts, or they're actually studs machined into the connecting rod. So we don't want to tap on them and flare them out. Well, I do believe that we got an engine that's going to be a little bit cranky about coming apart. I think we're going to have to continue this one on as a separate video, because this is going to be a very involved process to get this crankshaft out of here. I've already done two in a Flathead Ford and have learned a few tricks. I think we're going to end the checkout here. Thanks a lot for stopping by. If you got this far in the video, give me a thumb up, give me a like. If for no other reason than sympathy for the mess that we're getting into here. If you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to the channel. Love to have you come back. We've got this Flathead Ford that we've got to clean up, and we've got some other stuff on the go as well. Consider ringing that bell icon if you want to get notified when I post new content. And we'll catch you guys in the next mess. Thanks for watching.